Revealed, after his wife left him for his boss, this man discovered an amazing 50M contract. Mike Thompson slumped on his porch, an empty beer bottle rolling between his fingers. The sun dipped low behind the Maplewood factory that had once been his pride. It had always been about hard work, a steady paycheck, and providing the best for his wife Sarah and their 2 kids. He'd believed in the American dream with everything he had. But now, that dream felt laughably distant, shattered by the note he'd found when he got home. The words still echoed in his mind. "I'm with him now. Please don't look for us." The air was thick with silence, a stark contrast to the vibrant life they'd built, a life now blessed with haunting echoes of laughter that were not meant for him. Each heartbeat hammered at his chest like the machines in the factory, relentless and unforgiving. It felt as if the entire town was judging him, whispers grazing his eardrums, eyes avoiding him down the street. But just when the weight of the world felt unbearable, Mike found solace in Mr. Jenkins, his old neighbor. The war veteran had seen more than his fair share of heartbreak, and the 2 men often found themselves sharing stories on chilly evenings. "You know, son," Jenkins said, his weathered hands around a steaming cup, "the only way out of the dark is through. You gotta keep pushing." It was a simple statement, but that spark of understanding ignited something deep within Mike. Days passed, and in the swirl of grief, Mike stumbled upon an old business plan buried beneath a pile of discarded dreams. Scribbled notes and sketches of a new tool designed to unite working-class families formed the very foundations of what he'd envisioned with Sarah. They'd talked about it late into the night, filled with hope, brimming with purpose. This was their joint dream. Maybe it wasn't too late to bring it to life. Driven by newfound determination, Mike rolled up his sleeves. He reached out to friends, neighbors, and fellow factory workers. "Let us do this together," he rallied, igniting a spark within the community. As support began pouring in, the hope was palpable. It felt like fresh air after a long, suffocating stretch. But just as the tide began to turn, the damning news hit. A reputable distributor had taken notice of their project, a $50 million contract looming on the horizon. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But the joy of that moment splintered when Mike learned something gutting. The CEO behind that lucrative deal was Sarah's new partner. The man who had taken everything from him. That betrayal stung like poison, twisted and rotten deep within. Revenge gripped him, and for a moment, he imagined facing the man who had shattered his family. But as anger simmered, a voice resonated within. "What do you want for your future? Who do you want to be?" And in that moment of confusion, Mike understood that he could either become the very demon who caused him pain, or rise above, find his own path, and reclaim his dignity. The stakes couldn't be higher, and as he stood on that precipice, the whole town was watching. Could a broken family mend? Could he find the strength to forgive and truly live again? A choice loomed ahead, and it demanded every ounce of his courage. The morning light crept in through the broken blinds, casting stripes across Mike's tired face. He woke up with a sense of urgency throbbing in his chest. There was a plan to be formed, an action to take. The sudden weight of responsibility hit him like a wave. It wasn't just about himself anymore. It was about his family, his friends, and all those depending on this project. As he walked into the small kitchen, he could smell the faint remnants of last night's dinner. The untouched plates remained as a stark reminder of what he had lost, but now the lingering aroma invigorated him, infused with new purpose. Today was the day he would make something happen. He grabbed his old laptop. Its screen flickered to life like a pulse in the quiet room. Excitement replaced dread as he opened the documents on the business plan. Every CNC machine drawing, every budget sheet beckoned him like an old friend. He felt alive again, like a craftsman dusting off old tools to start a new project. Mike called a meeting with the factory workers, heart racing as he stood in front of the assembly of weary faces. The room buzzed, hanging on to his words. "We've faced hard times," he began, "but I'm telling you, this isn't the end. We've got a shot at something big together. Let us breathe life into our ideas and show them what we're capable of." As he spoke, expressions shifted from skepticism to intrigue. There was something about the energy he exuded. Cracks in their despair began to show, revealing the hope buried beneath. One by one, hands shot up. Ideas flowed, the conversations thick with creativity and laughter. Together, they started refining the concept, each contribution brightening the room. The spark was contagious. Teamwork flourished as people remembered their worth. By nightfall, they had a rough prototype ready. Mike watched as they gathered around it, the pride evident on their faces. But the glimmer in his eye wasn't just for the machine, it was about what it represented. This was more than just a project, it was a lifeline. Word spread through town and people began showing up, sharing skills, bringing tools, and forming a bond that transcended their pasts. The factory pulsed with renewed life, and in the corners of Mike's mind, he could feel the shadows of his ongoing heartbreak compete with the light of community. But the deeper Mike immersed himself in his work, the louder the doubt began to whisper in the back of his mind. How could he face Sarah again? Would there be a way to find closure? Each passing day only reinforced that confrontation lingered on the horizon, one he had to face sooner or later. When the night fell, Mike stood in front of the half-finished prototype, pondering his next steps. Could he really forgive Sarah? The pain felt raw, but the burden of resentment only weighed heavier, tugging at his determination. They needed success. He needed to let the anger go. As he stared at the industrial beast taking shape before him, he made an unspoken promise, to build not just a tool, but a bridge back to gratitude, a way to navigate his way through this new and harsh reality. But just then, the phone rang, jolting him from his thoughts. It was a number he hadn't expected. The CEO's office. The voice on the other end was smooth, filled with intrigue. "We need to talk about the $50 million contract. It's time for you to get on board." His heart raced. Was this an opportunity or a trap? The moment of truth was here. What would he decide? Would he swallow his pride, or would he walk away from it all? The moment the call ended, Mike sat in stunned silence. His fingers hovered above the keyboard, heart pounding. He replayed the CEO's words like a broken record. The prospect of a $50 million contract shimmered in front of him, beckoning like a mirage in the desert. But the weight of betrayal from Sarah, his former wife, and now his boss's new flame clung heavily to the message. Could he truly step back into that world? The corporate landscape that had once felt like home now resembled a maze filled with thorny walls. Images of Sarah laughing with the CEO crept into his mind, her smile like a blade that twisted in his chest. Would she be there, grinning, as he signed a contract that could pull his community from the brink? Mike shook his head, dispelling the invasive thoughts. This wasn't just about him. He had a team counting on him, family and friends who believed in the vision they were building. In that moment, he made a decision. He would take the meeting. He would face the music head-on. "The final assembly is tomorrow," he declared to the team in the gathering buzz of the factory. "I'll be at the meeting with the CEO afterward. This contract could mean everything for us." Their faces lit up with hope, igniting a renewed focus within the room. Support washed over him, and it made the impending confrontation with Sarah seem a bit more bearable. As everyone left for the day, Mike lingered by the prototype, tracing his fingers along its outline. It was imperfect but raw, a representation of possibility. Each scratch and dent told a story, the struggles they had overcome together. Their laughter, shared frustrations, and late nights fueled the fire that had sparked this endeavor. Later that night, as he sat still with his thoughts, Mike couldn't shake the creeping apprehension that came with the dawn. The sunlight would bring clarity and warmth, but also the reality of facing Sarah again. Would he be able to hide his feelings when he saw her? Would his heart betray him? A part of him wanted to confront her, to drag the truth out into the open where he could dissect it, but another part of him desired the peace that silence might bring. By morning, Mike combed through his notes for the meeting, his heart thumping against his ribs. He needed to be strong, not just for the team, but for himself. He dressed carefully, staring into the mirror at the man staring back. Not defeated. Not yet. When he arrived at the office, the air was thick with tension and unspoken words. As he walked through the lobby, he caught sight of Sarah, her laughter floating through the air as she spoke with the CEO. She was radiant, and for a fleeting moment, he felt the old tug of affection. Then anger surged, fierce and primal. This wasn't about them anymore, it was about survival. The meeting room waited for him like a battleground, his mind racing with strategies. But just as he steeled himself for the confrontation, his phone buzzed. It was a text from one of his teammates. "We believe in you, Mike. No matter what happens, keep your head up. We're behind you." The words, simple yet powerful, wrapped around him like a shield. This was it. He was ready to dive into the storm. As the door swung open, Mike stepped into the room, heart hammering in his chest. But just before he could sit at the table, a familiar face greeted him. Sarah looked up, and their eyes locked. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. Could he hold on to his resolve, or would the past wrap around him, dragging him back into familiar chaos? What would he say to her? Would he confront her there, in front of their bosses, or would he keep it professional? The answers loomed large and heavy as he prepared to take a seat at the table. Mike felt the weight of Sarah's gaze, like an anchor pulling him down. He forced himself to breathe, shifting his focus to the CEO, who was oblivious to the tempest swirling just beneath the surface. "Thank you for joining us, Mike," the CEO said, gesturing toward an empty chair at the table. "We've been looking forward to discussing this contract with you." "Yeah, I'm ready," Mike replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. He took his seat, but couldn't he shake the tension crackling in the air? The seconds ticked by like hours, the atmosphere thickening with anticipation. Then, Sarah spoke up, her tone smooth and professional. "We have ambitious goals for this contract, Mike. Your team's innovation could really change things for us." Her words ignited a flicker of hope in him. Yes, their hard work and late nights could really make a difference. He could transform their failure into victory, and maybe, just maybe, his broken heart could heal in the process. "Absolutely," he said, forcing a smile as he met her eyes. "We've crafted a proposal that I think aligns with all your objectives." As he detailed the plan, he felt the electricity between him and Sarah increase, even as he fought to keep his emotions in check. She was listening intently, every nuance of her expression drawing him in. The memories flooded back, shared laughter over late-night brainstorming sessions, their dreams mingled with hopes. But just as quickly, they retreated into shadows, replaced by feelings of betrayal and loss. Halfway through his presentation, he reached a pivotal point, his heart racing with urgency. "I believe this contract represents more than just numbers on a page. It could save jobs, help families, and foster innovation." He let the passion flow through him, knowing full well that his team depended on this. As Mike spoke, he caught Sarah's expression, her brow furrowing slightly. Was it concern? Empathy? He was losing grip on the professional facade, and he knew it. This was a tricky balancing act, a dance between his heart and his mind. "Great points, Mike. But we need to consider our budget constraints," the CEO interjected, snapping Mike back to reality. He noticed the CEO's gaze drifting towards Sarah, and it twisted the knife deeper inside him. Unable to quell the rising tide of emotion, Mike forced a steady breath, determined to remain composed, but the moment of truth was closer than he thought. The meeting reached its critical juncture when the CEO leaned forward, locking eyes with Mike. "So, what is your bottom line? Are you ready to move forward with this?" It was time. All the past pain and unresolved feelings surged within him, and he had to decide. Would he protect his heart or stand for what he believed in? As he looked at Sarah, he found himself at the crossroads. That moment felt fragile, the air heavy with unspoken words. He took a deep breath, ready to speak, but just then, his phone buzzed again in his pocket. When he pulled it out, Mike's mood shifted. It was another text from his team. "Remember why you started. You're not alone." The words were like a lightning bolt. They pulled him from the edge. "Actually," he started, feeling a newfound strength electrify his voice. "I want to make this work, but not if it means sacrificing what my team stands for." Gasps echoed in the room, but he had said it. Would Sarah respect his choice, or would she see it as a threat? The tension was electric, and as he cleared his throat and met her eyes once more, a single question loomed large. Could they still be allies in this fight, or had their personal struggles cut ties permanently? Mike held his breath, the silence stretching painfully. Every pair of eyes around the table was glued to him, waiting for the fallout of his declaration. He felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to leap, but unsure of what awaited him below. Sarah's expression changed, her mouth slightly parting as if she were about to say something. But the moment hung between them, fragile and filled with tension, before she quickly masked her feelings behind a professional facade. "I appreciate your honesty, Mike," she said, her voice steady. "But we all have limitations to consider." The CEO nodded, looking intrigued. "A fair point, Mike. Let us explore what those limitations might mean for our negotiations." He could feel the warmth of Sarah's gaze, the way it pierced through his resolve. Beneath the surface, he knew they were both wrestling with their past. Each word he spoke held a double meaning, one for the contract and another for their entangled history. "Right," he replied, finding a steadiness he didn't know he had. "We've implemented changes based on the feedback from your previous projects. We can be flexible to ensure the contract meets your needs, but we also need commitment to our values." Sarah tilted her head, her eyes sparkling with a mix of admiration and something he dared not hope for understanding. "Then let us clarify those values," she suggested, leaning in. "What can we agree on that protects both our interests?" As ideas flowed, Mike's tension began to ease, their discussions strategically weaving together compromise and ambition. It felt exhilarating to engage with her again, just like old times back when they would brainstorm till dawn, believing the world was at their feet. But even as he took a step forward in their professional relationship, his heart hammered at the reminder of what they had lost. Minutes turned into an hour as they hashed out details. The room was filled with spirited discussions, laughter breaking through the formalities, and Mike quickly remembered how well they meshed as a team. But amid the excitement, he couldn't help feeling the chasm that had opened between them, one lined with anger, heartbreak, and disappointments. When the meeting finally wrapped up, the CEO shook hands with them both, a genuine smile on his face. "Impressive work, everyone. I think we're on the right track here. Mike, I'd like to keep this conversation going." "Absolutely," Mike said, barely able to conceal his relief. But as the others began to disperse, he noticed Sarah linger. She stepped toward him, her expression softening. "Can we talk?" The question hung heavily in the air, and Mike's heart raced. Was she offering him a lifeline? Or a chance to relive the past and hash out unresolved feelings? He nodded, unable to find his voice. They walked towards the corner of the room, away from prying eyes. The air felt charged with unsaid words, memories tugging at them both. He looked at her, the familiar warmth flooding back, and just like that, the walls he had built began to crack. "Mike," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. "I never wanted things to go this way." The floodgates opened, and all the hurt, regret, and unresolved emotions swirled within him. He had faced the corner of grief and longing today, but would it lead to reconciliation, or would they tumble into deeper conflicts? Just as he opened his mouth to reply, the sound of their colleagues filtering out broke the moment. The door closed behind them with a soft click, and Mike was left grappling with one burning question. Could they find a way back to the connection they once had, or was this yet another chance lost to the past? The pause stretched between them, a chasm echoing their past and present. Mike saw the pain reflected in Sarah's eyes. The laughter and camaraderie from the meeting felt a lifetime away, replaced by a heavy silence that loomed over them. "Mike," she hesitated, biting her lip. "I've thought about you about us so much since we last." Her voice faded as uncertainty clouded her thoughts. Each heartbeat pounded in his chest, resonating with a feeling he thought had dulled over time. "I didn't expect to see you here today. I thought it was just about business," he said. The words poured out, layered with confusion. They hadn't buried it all, had they? No, it's not just business, she affirmed, her gaze intense. And it never was. He felt the weight of her words. What did they mean? The memories flooded back, late-night talks, shared dreams, the creeping sense of betrayal that had torn them apart. She took a step closer, a soft breeze of familiarity enveloping them. What do we do now? He asked, his stomach in knots. They stood on a precipice of choices that could seem so trivial to an outsider, but meant everything to them. I don't know, she replied candidly, a hint of vulnerability breaking through her confident composure. I never wanted to hurt you. I was afraid and I didn't know how to fix things. Her honesty hit him like a wave. Neither did I. I was so angry, Sarah. I didn't know how to let go of it. The confession simmered in the air, raw and unfiltered. Looking into her eyes made him realize how much pain they had both carried. She nodded, her eyes misty. I thought if I could push you away, it would hurt less. But it didn't. It only made it worse. Her hand reached out, a tiny spark igniting the air between them. Mike hesitated, caught in the moment. Did he want to bridge the gap, or was he too afraid of being hurt again? They weren't just colleagues anymore. They were two people faced with choices that would shape their futures. Maybe we could start by being honest, he suggested, eyes earnest. About everything. The past, the anger, the hope, all of it. I want that, she said softly, the walls around her heart seeming to lower. But can we really face it together? We've lost so much time. He took a deep breath. Time isn't lost unless we let it be. What if we put everything on the table? Agree to be real, no matter how hard? The vulnerability of sharing their pain felt daunting, but beneath it, there was a flicker of something more hope. She looked at him, a small smile breaking through the tension. Then let us not waste any more. Just at that moment, the door swung open abruptly, revealing their colleagues who had come to check on them. Hey, everything okay? One of them chimed, breaking the intimate atmosphere they had just begun to build. The moment shattered, leaving Mike and Sarah to stare at each other, both aware of how fragile this newfound connection was. Yeah, just a moment, Mike replied, forcing a smile, but his heart raced. He could feel the urgency of their conversation hitting the brakes. Could they really start anew amidst all the complications around them? As his colleagues started to chat and share laughter, Mike glanced back at Sarah, hoping they could revisit their unfinished talk later. But would there be a later? With this new drive inside him, he couldn't let this chance slip through his fingers. Mike, Sarah said softly, her eyes imploring him to remember. We will talk again, won't we? We can't just leave it like this. His chest tightened. I promise we will. But just as he turned to rejoin the conversation, another thought struck him. Was it possible to build something new when the past was still whispering their old secrets? And deep down, even as he tried to foster hope, he couldn't shake the feeling that the truth might come crashing down sooner than they anticipated. The future felt uncertain, and the fire of their conflicted hearts was just beginning to heat up. The noise of laughter echoed around them, but Mike felt like he was trapped in a bubble, where only he and Sarah existed. The vibrant chatter of their colleagues faded into the background as he wrestled with conflicting emotions. He forced himself to smile at their small talk, nodding at jests he barely registered. His mind was still with Sarah, her lingering gaze burning into his thoughts. He couldn't help but wonder if they were both ready to confront the unspoken barriers that had driven them apart. The fear of diving into that dark water was overwhelming. Would it drown them or set them free? As the conversation picked up, he felt Sarah's hand touch his arm lightly. It was a simple, reassuring gesture that sent a ripple of warmth through him. The range of emotions they had both bottled up could burst forth any moment, like a dam finally giving way. Hey, do you want to join us for dinner later? One of their colleagues blurted out, pulling Mike out of his reverie. I heard there's a new spot that opened up downtown. Should be fun. His heart sank at the suggestion. Dinner meant more forced distractions, a chance to avoid this heavy truth hanging between him and Sarah. He risked a glance at her, searching for a hint of her feelings on the matter. I'd love to join, she said, her voice steady, yet her eyes betrayed a hint of apprehension. Was she as eager for distraction as he was? Or was she more inclined to face their shared past head-on? Great. We should head over around 7, their colleague replied. Oblivious to the charged atmosphere lingering in the AIR.as, they moved back into the flow of the meeting. Mike felt Sarah's eyes on him intermittently, a beacon in the noise. Every glance stirred memories, happiness, and sorrow, tangled together like cords of a frayed rope. Each moment apart had woven a tapestry of shared joys and endless regrets. The clock ticked on, and Mike could feel the day dragging closer towards those few fleeting hours before they all sat down together. The fear of confrontation was strong, but so was the aching need to be honest, to be free of the chains their past had tied around them. When the meeting finally came to an end, Mike found himself walking alongside Sarah. The others dispersed, leaving behind an awkward silence that felt like a prelude. About dinner she started, her rhythm faltering. Mike, do you think we can talk? Really talk? His stomach fluttered with nerves. Yes, I do like that. They found a small corner in the office, away from the lingering crowd. Mike leaned against the cool wall, heart racing as he tried to gather his thoughts. Sarah, I don't want to pretend anymore. I really want to know if we should. His voice trailed off as doubt crept in, almost choking him. Me too, she hurriedly replied. But we need to protect what we're building now, you know? What if we open old wounds? I believe we can heal them, he countered, taking a step closer, encouraging the vulnerable moment to flourish. We deserve to at least try. She inhaled deeply, her eyes shimmering with tears of hope and fear. Okay, I want to try. But it might be bumpy. Life is often bumpy, isn't it? He shrugged with a shy smile. As they both shared a quiet laugh, the tension eased just a bit. But right then, the office door swung open again, this time revealing their boss, in high spirits, with a file tucked under his arm. Hey, you two. Do you have a moment? I just got this the other day, and I think it's something you'd both want to see. Mike exchanged a quick look with Sarah, both of them acutely aware of how easily their moment could dissolve into the noise of the workplace. As their boss approached, excitement lighting up his eyes, Mike wondered if they would ever get the chance to face the truth, and as the unexpected intrusion shifted the momentum again, he felt a tightening knot in his chest. Could one single decision to guard their hearts cost them their shot at rediscovery? What could he possibly want that would be more important than our conversation? Sarah whispered, frustration seeping through her worried glance. With every twist and turn, it felt like this conversation was always just out of reach. What awaited them on the other side of those shared truths, and would they be ready for whatever revelation might come next? Mike's heart raced as their boss approached, the file clutched tightly like a lifeline. If only he could push through the noise, the cheerful chatter, the laughter that felt so distant now. As his boss reached them, Mike felt the air tighten around him, the electricity of their nearly shared moment buzzing just beneath the surface. Look at this. Their boss exclaimed, joy spilling over as he opened the document. A huge opportunity. I'd love for you both to take the lead on this project. The words floated in the air, heavy and confusing. Mike caught a glimpse of Sarah's face reflecting equal surprise and disappointment. They were so close, yet this professional bombshell had just shifted the ground beneath their feet. What is it? Mike asked, a little too brusquely, though he couldn't help it. He wanted to know, but his mind was still tangled in what mattered most, talking to Sarah, facing whatever lay in their past. The boss didn't notice the tension. Instead, he was flipping through the pages with uncontainable enthusiasm. A company merger. This could bring in a $50 million deal. Think of it. We need to get in touch with their team today. Sarah nodded slowly, her eyes darting from the document to Mike, as if searching for clarity in the chaos. It was obvious she felt as trapped as he did, but how to break free of the expectations that were suddenly back in the spotlight? Wow, that sounds huge, Mike said, forcing the words out with a strained smile. The thrill of the opportunity was overshadowed by his need to connect with Sarah. What do you think, Sarah? She hesitated, then straightened as if the responsibility of the moment had launched her back into professional mode. Yes, absolutely. We should start outlining our approach. The boss's eyes lit up. Great. I want to see some ideas by end of the week. He was practically bouncing on his heels, energized by this new prospect. I'll leave you two to brainstorm. I'm sure you'll come up with something spectacular. With that, he bounded away, leaving Mike and Sarah in an awkward silence, both grappling with their intertwined emotions and the unsaid words now dangling in the air like low-hanging fruit. So work? Sarah finally said, her voice breaking slightly. It felt like a strange diversion, but there was comfort in the ordinary. They could lean into the day-to-day for now, where things felt safe and predictable, right? But Mike shook his head, pushing aside the professional veneer. It's not just about work, is it? Sarah took a deep breath and looked him straight in the eye. No, it's not. But I'm scared, Mike. What if we can't handle what comes next? What if we ruin everything? Look, he leaned closer, the vulnerability in her eyes drawing him in. I don't know what's next either, but staying quiet, pretending everything is okay, that what ruined us before. We owe it to ourselves to find out. She nodded, her fear palpable, but there was also a flicker of hope that shone through. Okay, but let us be sure we don't lose ourselves in this project. It can't become just another escape. Agreed, he said, feeling a bit of the tension ease. But we can't put off facing what needs to be faced. The truth won't get easier with time. As they exchanged glances, the weight of possibility drifted between them. Mike felt a sense of clarity rising up in him. They had an opportunity, in both work and their personal lives, to rewrite the story they had both been trapped in for too long, but just then his phone buzzed, breaking the moment. It was a message, and as he glanced at the screen, his stomach dropped. It's from my dad, he murmured, tension washing over him once again. He wants to talk. What about? Sarah's concern pulled her closer. I don't know, he replied, anxiety clawing at him as he read the message again. It doesn't feel good. Not good at all. As they stared at each other, the gravity of the situation hit them both. Could this conversation lead to yet another twist in their already tumultuous journey? Would the past knock harder at their door just when they thought they were ready to move forward? Every ounce of hope felt overshadowed by an impending fear, but they couldn't turn back now. They were on the brink of exploring the truth together, and maybe finding what they truly needed to overcome the shadows of their past. Mike's hands trembled as he put down the phone, the weight of unwelcome memories crashing over him. The last time he'd spoken to his dad, it had been an argument, a fight laden with old wounds. The thought of revisiting that pain made his chest feel tight, a familiar dread creeping into his heart. Do you want to talk about it? Sarah asked softly, her brow furrowed with concern. She reached out, placing a hand on his forearm, grounding him in the moment. I don't know, he managed. I thought things might be settling down. He looked into her eyes, searching for reassurance. But what can you really do when the past insists on haunting you? Maybe it's time to confront it, she suggested, her voice steady. You've been running for so long, Mike. Face it now, before it unexpectedly blindsides you. She had a point, and he knew it. Grief and unresolved issues had been his constant companions, each conversation slipping through his fingers like sand. And now it seemed inevitable. His father's call was just the tipping point. I should do it, he breathed, anxiety intertwining with a surge of resolve. I can't let him keep deciding when I have to face it. Do you want me to come with you? Sarah asked, the warmth in her voice making him feel a little braver. I wish I could say yes, but I think this is something I need to tackle alone, he replied, pulling away the hand that had provided momentary comfort. If it comes crashing down, I need to own it every messy part. Okay, she nodded, visibly reluctant but supportive. Just remember, you're not alone in this. I'm here whenever you're ready. Before he could respond, they were interrupted by a coworker passing by, oblivious to their moment. Hey, you guys better start brainstorming. That merger won't wait, she grinned, her energy infectious, yet it felt jarring against the backdrop of Mike's heaviness. I guess we should get on that, Sarah said with a forced smile, trying to shift gears. But Mike felt the weight of the conversation pressing heavily on him, tangled emotions merging with professional obligations. Can we take a break first? Mike blurted out. I need a minute. Sure, of course. Sarah's eyes softened, but he saw the flicker of worry lurking just beneath the surface. Let us meet back in 15? Yeah, sounds good. As she walked away, he felt an overwhelming mix of gratitude and sadness. He admired her strength, yet he couldn't shake the looming confrontation ahead. He took a moment, breathing deeply as the office buzzed around him. The vibrant energy felt surreal against his internal storm. Restlessness gnawed at him as he wandered aimlessly through the labyrinth of cubicles and chatter. Then he spotted a colleague, Chris, nervously adjusting his tie before a client meeting. Mike could sense Chris's own insecurities, a mirror of his own. There was comfort in that understanding, a connection built on the shared human struggle. Hey, you good? Chris asked, shifting to lean against the wall as Mike approached. Not really. Mike shrugged, disconnected from pretense. Just had a message from my dad. Thinking about finally calling back. It terrifies me. Yeah, family can be tough, Chris said quietly, running a hand through his hair. But sometimes we think it'll be too much to handle, but facing it is what sets us free. Exactly, Mike said, unsure if the words were for him or Chris now. But look, Chris continued, you're stronger than you think. You'll find your way through this. Just keep moving forward. Those words echoed in Mike's mind as he stepped away, taking a breath to gather himself. If Chris could see his strength, maybe he could too. Returning to his desk, he glanced at the clock. A ticking reminder, a countdown to the conversation he had been avoiding. The whispers of the past teased at the corners of his mind, but suddenly, facing them didn't seem entirely impossible. Would he find the answers he needed, or would this encounter entangle him deeper in unresolved pain? As he contemplated the call, he felt a tremor of hope rising amidst the darkness, a possibility to finally take control of his story. Just as he was about to send a quick reply to his dad, his phone buzzed again, a new message lighting up the screen. It was from Sarah. Are you ready? Let's tackle that merger. Taking a deep breath, Mike felt the resolve settle in his chest. He had a project to focus on and a life to reclaim. But looming behind him was the call he knew he had to make. Would he face his past as well as he was handling the present? Would tonight's conversation change everything, or had he finally found a way to break the cycle? That evening, Mike stood before his bathroom mirror, the steely glow of the overhead light reflecting off his weary face. The weight of the world seemed heavier today. Taking a deep breath, he practiced the lines he wanted to say. Dad, I'm ready to talk. But would he mean it? Would it even matter? The day had moved with a dizzying speed, each hour feeling both fleeting and eternal. He'd made progress on the merger proposal, a thrilling project that held promises of restoration for the factory and its community, yet the shadows of the past loomed large, threatening to snuff out the hope he'd begun to cultivate. As the clock struck 6, he pulled himself away from the mirror and grabbed his phone. The message from Sarah replayed in his mind, igniting both excitement and dread. Are you ready? Let's tackle that merger. He knew she'd be at the new restaurant downtown, her laughter cutting through the noise of his worries, a beacon guiding him. Moments later, he stepped into the bustling restaurant, the sound of clinking glasses and cheerful banter swirling around him. And there she was. Sarah sat at a corner table, her hair catching the soft light as she smiled and waved him over. Mike felt his heart flutter. Those shared memories flickered in the back of his mind, reigniting some feeling of warmth amidst the chaos. Hey, he said, sliding into the chair across from her. How's the brainstorming going? Her laughter melted the tension just a bit. You mean, besides the sudden influx of tasks and our boss playing matchmaker with our workload? He chuckled softly. Right? Like we don't have enough on our plates. The conversation flowed easily, and with every passing moment, he felt the barriers they'd built around their hearts soften. She was ambitious, passionate. He admired her fervor for this merger. It mirrored the burning desire he felt. This project was their chance, one that could bring them back together in ways neither expected. Yet, even as the laughter spilled and conversations surged through the air, the anxiety gnawed at him like a persistent itch. He glanced at his phone, its bright screen shining a warning his father. Everything okay? Sarah asked, noticing the shift in his demeanor. Mike swallowed hard, unsure of how to confess that the moment he truly wanted was being threatened by ghosts. It's my dad. We had a falling out and, well, maybe I need to have that conversation tonight too. Sarah's eyes softened. You don't have to do it alone, you know. I mean it. You can tell him how you feel. He nodded slowly, the conflict raging in his mind. But what if it doesn't go well? What if he is still angry or we fight? I'm so tired of fighting. I get that, trust me, she said gently. But avoiding it won't change anything. You deserve to face this and reclaim your peace. Just like how we're trying to reclaim our aspirations here. Her words hung in the air, bold and compelling. He felt a tether pull between them, a connection that had always been there but had gone cold. What if he doesn't see how much this means to me? Maybe it's time to show him, she encouraged, her gaze unwavering. Taking a deep breath, Mike felt the resolve solidify within him. The past didn't have to dictate his path anymore. There was a chance for healing, for forgiveness, and most of all, for understanding, something he never thought would come about after everything that had happened. I'll do it, he murmured, determination igniting in his chest. A smile broke across Sarah's face, as if she could see the moment shift within him. Good. I'm proud of you. As the night wore on and conversations flowed seamlessly, Mike made a choice his heart soared. He called his dad, and with that singular motion, he seized the opportunity to mend what had long been broken. The phone rang, his heart thudding in rhythm to the echoes of uncertainty. Each heartbeat whispered courage into his thoughts, reminding him, no matter the outcome, he was done hiding. Dad? His voice cracked, raw with emotion. Mike, came the hesitant reply, thick with years of distance. I'm ready to talk. Aye. Want to clear the air. Can we meet? And as he spoke, he felt the pieces of his life realigning, each word weaving into the fabric of a new beginning. The next few days felt like a whirlwind. He met with his father, talked honestly about their past, and learned to embrace vulnerability both in the family dynamics and with Sarah. The dust began to settle, and what unfolded felt like a second chance, a newfound spark for their relationship. By the time they wrapped up the merger proposal, the factory once shrouded in shadows became a symbol of rebirth. They stood together, hands over the glossy blueprints that mapped out their future. Look at what we've built. Mike exclaimed with radiant joy, and the energy surged through the room, contagious among their colleagues. Laughter echoed, surrounded by a reborn spirit. They had turned pain into creativity, suffering into innovation. And when Sarah caught his eye, there was no hesitation as they locked that gaze, a silent understanding blooming between them. They had fought hard, but in doing so, they had also found a bond that felt unshakable. Life began to unfold, brighter and more hopeful than either had dared to dream. As success poured in, and the contract sealed their efforts, they both realized their story wasn't just about the merger. It was about resilience, transformation, and the spark of love finding its way through the darkest moments. With each passing day, they reclaimed their narrative, two individuals rising from the ashes, ready to write the joyful chapters ahead. And as Mike stood with Sarah at the helm of their new venture, he knew they would navigate this journey together, sailing into new horizons and ready for whatever came next. You need to subscribe now to witness more inspiring transformations like this. Leave a like now to show your support and feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions to this remarkable conclusion. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful story of redemption. Don't wait not even one more second to make a difference.